No, welcome everybody. Please get your cameras on. If you can, we're going to be very interactive. We know there's a couple people who don't have cameras. And we get that. And thanks in the chat. People are letting us know that some people may not be able to stay the whole time, but we're glad to have you for as long as we do. And yeah, it's probably all I have to say at this point in time.
Yeah, welcome. Jennifer and I are part of, we're the co-owners of Passagewise, which is a training program or training kind of organization. So we do all kinds of different trainings, and I want to kind of thank Jennifer in advance because she agreed to let me entertain myself with something that I'm pretty passionate about, and so hopefully we can get through some of the details of improv and do some improvisational comedy today. And don't be scared. It's anything we do today is fairly simple. And one of the things, you'll see one of the tenets of improv comedy is that you don't have to be funny, and you don't even have to try to be funny. And as y'all know, being counselors, being teachers, being in life in general can be absurd and it can be hilarious. And so you don't have to try to be hilarious in life. Life just gives it to us. So, yeah, like Joseph said, I did community mental health for about 18 years and then thought I could teach something. So then I started teaching and been teaching for a while. And so I've been in this field for about 30 years, and about 15 years ago, I started thinking about improv, and it was probably from watching Whose Line Is It Anyway on TV. And what I was recognizing is the people that were doing improv were doing a lot of things really similar to people that are counselors. And so I started thinking there's got to be some overlap in these ideas. And by the way, I had a supervisor when I was first in training that used to tell me all the time, you as a counselor, you have to think on your feet. And I absolutely agree with that. If you've ever been in a counseling situation and somebody comes in and says, hey, I got something to get off my chest, and they drop a bomb on you, you have to think on your feet, and you can't go, and run out of the room. You have to think on your feet, what am I going to do now? Because most of us don't prepare ourselves in a first session for I did this and a bomb just going off in the room. So about 3 years ago, I finally got the courage to go and take Improv 101. And what I found was that the instructors that were teaching just the basics of improv were saying about 80% of what they were saying is stuff I say in classes when I'm teaching clinical mental health counselors. It was more than there was overlap. It was almost the exact same thing. And so I really got into doing this and got into really kind of exploring how can this be something that informs us in a different way than let me have you look at a textbook and let's talk about these things from an academic standpoint. Yeah, can you? So that's why I'm here today. is to kind of show y'all a little bit of what I'm thinking about. I'll be talking probably a little bit more than Jennifer on this one, but Jennifer has heard all of this stuff because her and I are friends, and I can't stop talking about it, and she has to put up with it. So, and she does a good job of it. So I appreciate her for doing that. And she's actually, some of the things that are in these slides are things that have come from discussions and something she's added to my passion for. So these are the objectives.
The objectives, I mean, everybody can kind of read through.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how this all comes around today, John, and how you share it. So that's why I'm also going to be a little quiet, but you know.
Yeah. So so the first thing, can you go to the next slide?
I might. There we go.
So if y'all been to presentations with Jennifer and I, we've done some for
This slide.
This is a slide that we use often. It's called Common Factors of Change. I'm not going to go deep into this, but basically this was some research that was done over and over again that looked at what are the common factors that influence change in a counseling, in a counseling session and in a counseling case. And they found these 4 factors, and the biggest one being client characteristics, which is they call it extra therapeutic factors, but it's really the client's characteristics, what they bring into a session, what they bring into you, what they heard from Oprah, what their friends said, what has happened to them in the past, so those kinds of characteristics. I'll do the 30% last, but 15% is expectancy, which the client expects that change will occur and that the counselor expects change will occur.
So that's kind of what we describe as hope.
Yeah, so that there's hope that things can be different. The other 15% is the use of a model. And what they found was it didn't really matter what model of counseling you are using, but it did matter that you were using some sort of model, that you had some sort of direction that you were taking in the session. So the 30% is what we're going to focus on today. Really, that's probably, I mean, there bleeds into other ones, but that's really the focus. And the 30%, which this is the biggest factor that we as counselors, we as healthcare professionals have some sort of influence in. The big 40%, client characteristics, we have nothing to do with. But the 30% is the therapeutic relationship. And they found that is the biggest factor that we as counselors have something to do with. That's the biggest factor that influences change. And so what, I work for a program now, a CMHC program that really focuses on, especially early on in the program, the basic counseling skills. And you get kind of hammered in practicing basic counseling skills, because what the program believes, and I've come to believe, is that if you can get those down, then you have the foundation that anything else you are doing with clients, it has more of a opportunity to go well. I always say you can be the best interventionist in the world. You can give the best information in the world, the most accurate information in the world to people. you can intervene and be brilliant about it. If your clients don't trust you, it ain't going nowhere.
Yep.
So you have to build that relationship with them. And if you buy into this research validates that. It says the therapeutic relationship is the biggest influence you have. So with that being said, let's talk about improv for a minute. And improv really has four main principles that you'll come across. And so I want to kind of walk y'all through these and just talk about them for a minute. A lot of people have probably heard of the first one. The first thing you learn in improv is yes and, is how to yes and people. And this is actually the thing I knew about. And I was thinking that's exactly what we do in counseling if we're not trying to get in fights with our clients. Yes and is basically that the yes is we accept the premise that someone says to us. That doesn't mean we agree with it. That doesn't mean we even test it for accuracy. It's just we accept that they've offered us a premise of some sort. And that's the yes. The and is, and what do we do with it? The and can be we can validate it. The and can be that we can take it somewhere. And if you think about counseling, for me, the way I do counseling is I allow someone to unpack their story, and then I try to move it in different places, whether it be me asking questions about a certain place to give it direction, or offering new ideas or reframing. All of those things are part of that conversation. But one of the important things with improv is that you don't want to deny a person's premise. And so I think it is such an important principle in improv that we can hold on to as counselors, or if you're interacting in a school with an adolescent, because how many of us, when we say something and somebody is corrective about it and corrects us, how many of us go, gosh, I want to talk to this person a whole lot more? I don't know. Maybe y'all do. Maybe you like that. I'm not a big fan, even if they're correct. If their correction is correct, it's like, fine, thanks for the information, and I'm done. And so what yes and does is open up conversation. It increases it. It maintains it. And that's, if you go back to improv would look pretty stupid if somebody said something, the other person denied them, and they stopped talking. We would look kind of goofy on stage. So it's a matter of how do we maintain the conversation and have the premise blossom.
Well, and I would add, John, that the yes and I think applies to ourselves too. Like self-validation and that self-recognition, and knowing that something can be really, really hard and have some really positive moments in it.
Yes.
So that yes and. So I like that for the therapeutic relationship, as well as teaching ourselves and our clients and all of us to kind of create this mentality of the yes and in our own emotions.
Absolutely.
I think it also avoids using the word but.
Yes.
Because I hate using that word because it negates whatever was said before.
Absolutely.
If you can put and in place of it, then it allows for both.
Yeah. Which is most things in life.
Yes.
Right.
And I like that improv has taught us that.
And I think it also allows for two things to be true at once, and not get into that dichotomous sort of, because but is the invitation for there's a one way of thinking or a dichotomy. It just sets it up in a whole different way. Thanks, Anna. Really good point. I think the number 2 is what I mentioned. You don't have to be funny, and you have to be able to listen. And these are so straightforward, but in improv, if you're going to yes and someone, you better know what you're yesing and anding. And so you really have to listen, because you are following each other. And there's an Alan Alda quote that's coming up that talks about a person is no longer a target of communication. You become partners in communication.
It's that collaborative relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and the only way to be collaborative is if you're truly listening to the other person. And these are basic counseling skills, but I always thought I was a good listener when I first started my career. But what I was good at was hearing the first couple of things, then assessing what they're going to say, and start preparing what I was going to say to respond, instead of just staying in the moment with them and hearing what they're going to say. You can look good if you make your partner look good. And I love this. This is why I stayed around with the so I took the class, and now I'm part of the troupe. It's called Crowdsource Comedy. And one of the reasons I stayed around was, I say this to a lot of people, the idea that everyone is rooting for everyone else, and your entire job in the troupe is to help others shine. And just think about, what would it be like for you to be in an agency, in a company, where the entire goal was to help each other shine. And then think of what that means if you walked into, if you're walking into any kind of session, any kind of meeting, counseling, school counseling, any kind of meeting that you're going into and you had the mindset of, my entire job is to help the other person shine.
Very cool. Like, that's such a cool piece of that therapeutic process.
Yes. And then the last one is tell a story. When another troupe member is telling a story, yes and them with curiosity and compassion. And so that actually takes us to the next slide, which this is something, as I was talking to Jennifer about, Jennifer goes, "Hey, I just listened to this podcast," and she sent it to me. And it was an interview with Alan Alda, who, if you're old enough, was Hawkeye on MASH, and he's been in movies and all kinds of stuff. But he got his start in improv. And they were talking about improv in the podcast. So you can read this, or Jennifer, you want to read it?
It's a great podcast. I can read it.
Yeah.
Improv teaches you is that you must focus on the other person, and the other person comes first. The principle is you make your partner look good, and you do not look good at your partner's expense. You don't deny what your partner comes up with. You become partners. You don't have in the other person a target of your communication. You become partners in communication. which means you were finding out if they are understanding what you were saying, and you were also finding out how they feel about it. And I think in that podcast, he was talking about basically how improv applies to so many different relationships.
Yeah.
Our personal relationships, but also he talks about how scientists can do this differently, how medical professionals can interact differently. And so as John and I were talking about this, we just kept talking about how John kept talking about how improv really teaches therapeutic skills. So it's just a very cool, and Alan Alda just went with it and saw it, and he's out teaching scientists how to do this differently.
So, and if there's anyone every once in a while on these trainings, there's a past student of mine that I didn't say it this way, but this is a message that students that I was teaching marriage and family therapy to, this is the message they received. We had a whole section of a class on humility, and the whole idea of, you do not look good at your partner's expense. You don't make yourself look good at your partner's expense. And quite honestly, the reason I got into teaching was because I saw counselors that could not be right. They had to be right with their clients. And it felt really weird. It felt like that was about them and not about whether right or wrong was important. It felt like they just had to feel like they were right. And what improv suggests is that our job is as administrators, as school counselors, whatever, is to help our partner, help the other person. Again, I go back to the word shine, but help them look good.
I think that's the empowering part of the therapeutic process. So.
Well, and we're going to talk about specifically some of the counseling skills how they are addressed in these principles. But without a doubt, think of relationships you are in where people are validating you. And those are ones that you probably have deeper connection to. You probably have told them things that you haven't told other people. And that's what this is talking about. The principle to make your partner look good. The idea of yes and is all about validation. And think about relationships you may be in that people are invalidating you. You may not tell them unless you struggle with your own boundaries, you may not, you may hold back on some things. And so to Anna's point, that idea of using the word but is the beginning of an invalidation. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes. And once that happens, are you inviting the person to speak more or go deeper with you? If they're smart, they wouldn't. Because most people that get invalidated, get hurt, get undercut are going to be way more protective. So with that being said, I think, what's the next one?
My computer is being really slow on advancing these, so I apologize that I'm really hitting them.
So let's play a game. And so
I'm going to stop the share of the PowerPoint.
Good people. I had no one in my little block that had their cameras on. So for this, I need 6 people that are going to be part of an ad agency. This is going to be a simple one where we're gonna use the principle of yes and. So who wants to volunteer? All right, Tanya, you're not Tanya. You don't even look like a Tanya.
But my name is Smith. I'm Ryan.
I
Hey,
was like,
Ryan.
"That's Ryan. I know Ryan."
Hey. All right, but we're gonna call you Tanya just to yes and you on what your premise is.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, thank you. Who else? I can't see all the screens. If you like put a hand raise or just holler out, I'll start picking people.
I can help.
Thank you, Anna.
I'll do it.
Who was that? Shelley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anna, Shelley, Ryan,
I'll go ahead and throw my
Judy
hat in the
can
ring
do it.
too.
Spencer, Judy.
One more.
5. We need one more.
Be courageous. It doesn't even take courage, actually, this one.
It's overcoming the trauma of grad school, having to do all these role plays, right?
Yes.
I can do it.
Okay. Thanks, Alicia.
Mhm.
All right. So what I'm going to ask is for everyone else for the moment to turn off their cameras, if you can. If you can't, just play along. So hopefully those with the cameras on, now you all are involved in an ad agency. And what we're going to do is I'm going to get from someone else, the rest of the crowd, we're going to get a product for you. And we're going to get something unusual about this product. And then I'll give y'all the instructions on what y'all are to do. So from the rest of y'all, remember to unmute yourself, but I want you to just yell out something that you buy at Target.
Toothpaste.
Toothpaste, what else?
Mountain Dew Zero.
Mountain Dew Zero, what else?
Starbucks.
Clothes.
What kind of clothes?
Shirts.
Shirts, okay, what else?
Baby
Books.
clothes.
Oh,
Baby clothes.
Books.
Books. Okay.
Diapers.
Diapers.
Toys.
Games. Yeah. Sheets.
Okay. All right. Jennifer,
Yes.
I've written down some things. I want you to pick one of these. So I wrote down baby clothes, shirts, books, diapers, toys, games.
Okay, diapers.
All right, diapers. Now, for the big crowds, again,
Mm.
one thing I want you to suggest for the ad agency, what is unusual about these diapers? What makes these diapers stand out from all other diapers? Maybe
They're flower scented.
they're what?
Flower scented diapers.
They're flower scented diapers. Okay.
They change the baby themselves.
They change themselves.
These are
Glow in the dark.
leak proof.
Recyclable.
Recyclable.
Bedazzled.
Yes. They have bedazzling. Okay. Very good. So, by the way, for those of y'all that didn't volunteer, you just did improv. You just did it. I mean, you came up with several premises right now. So we could go with any one of those and yes, and the heck out of it, which is what ad agency y'all are going to do. So here's what I'm going to offer to y'all, and y'all are going to have a conversation, is that you all are selling and creating ads for flower scented diapers. And what I want you to do is I want you to come up with ideas of not just how to advertise these, but there may be other things unusual about these diapers. But come up, suggest ideas to your committee here. And your entire job, all of y'all, no matter what someone comes up with, is to yes and. All you have to do is yes and. And when you yes and, then you are taking it further or in a different direction, or you're adding something. But that's that's all you have to do. Simple as that. Any questions? So ad agency, our company is, we've created a whole line of flower scented diapers, and we need some ideas of how to get this out to people, how to get people to know this, how they're going to be running to the stores to buy these. Now y'all now I leave. Now y'all are in a think tank group. Go for it.
So we need to go into the grocery stores and we need to set up a changing booth right there in front of the grocery store so that they can see when they're shopping how nicely smelling these diapers are as these babies are being changed.
That's a great idea. I think we should even take that station and put it right by the entrance of the Walmart that we're at. And so the air can just flow this really beautiful flower scented, so they can't miss it.
I love it. One idea we could do is maybe we could do a different flower scent for whether, for what it is that's in the diaper, so we could have it coordinating, with what it is. So parents don't have to guess anymore.
Yes, and maybe we could even add to it that like if their diaper has been soiled, that the flower that it smells like will like light up, or not light up, but like it'll show up so they can know that it's time for a changing.
Yeah, let's get rid of the line, right?
That's right. No
Never
more
change never smell your baby's poop again.
Love that. It turns blue for number 1, red for number 2. And
And I think we need to maybe advertise online so that our customers that don't shop at Target can hear about it.
That's a beautiful idea. We could even start a podcast so that we could really get this out there on all of the amazing qualities of these beautiful flower smelling diapers. And I do think that a huge fan would be necessary to really carry the scent through the different places.
Love it. And I think we could do a scratch and sniff as well on the box, so they know what they're, what to expect, when their child does soil themselves.
Yes, you could even give out the free samples of the first few people that come, right? Make them the poster children for it.
Well, or even, hey, what about we go to the hospitals and have the hospitals give to new parents to send home with their newborns. So that way they can know from day one about it.
This
You
revolution.
can actually use them in the hospital before while they're still there.
That's right.
We can find influencers with babies, and get it to them so that they can get it out to everybody?
Some of these mom and dads that are on the road in their RVs traveling the country, you know, and the influencers there, that'd be fantastic.
These are great ideas, y'all. I love them. And I want to get them to even a bigger audience. I was thinking maybe like diaper drops over like football games and large crowds where you just drop these diapers, and maybe along with flower petals that come and all of it flutters down in this just sort of let's get the news out there to show this off.
This could be
Oh,
like.
John, that's a spectacular idea, John, because I was thinking about, you know, you could do an airplane with the tag, what do you call that? That banner on the back of it. And it could advertise, along with each diaper could be sent out as a parachute, right? So they could parachute out into the field. I think that's fabulous.
I think a good target group is grandparents.
Yes.
Because grandparents, they connect, right? I think that's, they connect and they talk and they've got this great network, and they're such a big part of the care community, the village that it takes to raise them.
Yes,
I
and
love
they're
that.
also
I think it also is like grandparents they're not used to the smells like parents are. And so if we really, you know, promote it to them, I think that's going to be a huge, huge bonus.
You know, I have a son-in-law who, when it was time to change his baby's poopy diapers, he would just gag until he threw up. So that would also be a good target. A good target sample to hit would be
Target the
fathers.
dads. Yeah.
Yep.
This is so great. This could revolutionize how they think about diapers. They'll just, opposed to thinking stinky, they'll see all the positive emotions of a football game and flower petals coming down. That is now the new image of diapers. We're revolutionizing how we think about diapers here.
yes, that's
So we
right.
could,
And I think that people will be fighting to change the diapers instead of like dreading it and taking turns over who gets to. They'll actually be excited and they'll be running to change a diaper.
so would there be a different scent that we could use for boys?
Oh, yeah, like
Musk, a musk cologne. There we go, musk cologne. I think that's brilliant.
We could pair up with the
Oh.
Old Spice, right? Train them while they're young.
Steaks on the grill.
people will like the type of diaper you get is like part of your personality, like just like your car is like a personality, or your dog, it's like the type of diaper you wear and the smell it gives off is now the personality.
Oh, I love it. It's taken on its own personality, its own character, and people, just like their pets, they're going to be drawn to these diapers because it's now going to become a part of the family.
So here's a little bit of a challenge for the ad agency. What are we going to name this product? Yes, and it.
Well, that's a challenge. A lot we want to incorporate in that. One common thing is that it smells like flowers, right? Flowers and diapers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and we also want to leave the door open for other scents that may not be floral, like the musk for the boys.
Yeah, definitely have to have some variety there. And, you know, we could possibly call it something like the fragrant butt wrap.
There we go.
My granddaughter the other day called diapers poop carriers.
What about poopery or something?
I think we're getting onto something there. Yeah.
Baskin Robbins, 21 flavors, the flavor of the day or something. I don't know.
And we could, we could consider the fact that sometimes these fragrant smells are going to express themselves at various times of the day, like dinner time, or, while you're in a group gathering. And, how do we support those parents at those moments?
That's right. And yes, what about other times of the year? Different seasons or something along
seasonal.
those lines. That might be
I love
kinda-
that. We could have like pine scent during Christmas time.
And
Awesome.
scene.
Pumpkin.
Nice, y'all.
Pumpkin
Give them a
spice.
hand, everybody. And whoever wants to come on camera, come on back. Nice job, ad agency. So let me ask the folks that were in the ad agency, what was that like? To have that kind of conversation? I get it was kind of out there, but what was that like to be in a situation where you were being yes-anded?
I really
felt
enjoyed just the energy.
validating.
Very encouraging.
I thought it really stimulated the, kind of the think tank creativity, because everybody felt supported and there was no bad ideas. It was just, let's just put out as many as we can, right? So I think it really encourages that innovation.
And there wasn't anybody saying, yes, that's a good idea. No, that's not a good idea. Just everybody's got to throw their stuff out there.
And I think it helped to facilitate listening between members, and it was engaging so that you wanted to participate.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. One of the things I noticed is you weren't just yes-anding in general, y'all were validating specific things people were saying. And when you validate something specific, it becomes even more validating because they felt that you were listening to them. From those that were watching, anything that y'all, what did you observe from watching them talk?
Energy.
Energy? Yeah. And that the energy maintained itself. And Jennifer, I think we're getting some people.
Got a comment that said, I loved how they played off of each other. And that was kind of my thought is, you're in this room where people are sharing the ideas and they're continuing to share ideas along those lines, and they are building and kept building on each other. And so that's what Tina is saying as well. Is they just played off, and somebody said synergistic. Yeah, completely different kind of environment than what you would imagine an ad agency discussion might be.
Yeah.
And that confidence, so Lindsay is saying that confidence grew and brainstorming grew. Yeah. And so I don't know about y'all, but those comments and y'all's experience from the ad agency, that what they were experiencing, those are the kinds of things I want to happen for me in a counseling room. I want my client to experience exactly what you all in the ad agency experienced. I want them to feel listened to. I want them to feel validated. I want them to feel as though they can say other things and not filter themselves out because, oh, he'll think I'm stupid, or, oh, that that something that I may think is important, but I filter it out because I don't feel like you would validate it or whatever. So it gives me freedom. Yeah. it encourages more comments and encourages more sharing of ideas.
And Jennifer knows this about me, but I try not to do anything anymore that isn't fun. And energy to me is fun. And so I like being, as a counselor, I like being in conversations that energize, that grow off of each other, that feel synergistic, that these comments are great, you know, that my confidence grows and my client's confidence grows, that we are, if we're in a brainstorming thing, that we are brainstorming and we're moving somewhere and not feeling stuck.
Yeah. Brooke is asking, is there a way you'd suggest to use this with couples? Oh, I like.
I think absolutely. I think that well, I don't want to go too academic on y'all, but there are models that do this. I mean, if you look at Virginia Satir and her human validation model, her entire premise is around people become incongruent with how they feel and what they communicate because they've been invalidated so much starting in childhood that they, instead of them being congruent and saying what they're feeling, they just say, I'm fine, when they're really not. And her entire model is coaching people in being vulnerable with each other and not allowing, and then she does not allow invalidation to happen.
I would almost say too that what if there was an issue that a couple was trying to figure out, and the only rule is you had to yes and each other as you talked about it, like really taking it, you're the ad agency, but really you're the problem solvers or whatever. And you just focus on practicing. How do we just share the ideas with the idea of yes and?
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't have to do it with the ad agency. They did a brilliant job
Yeah.
of staying there, because there was a couple of things that they could have been like, but I think with couples, you know, one of the things as a counselor, you can always, if they say yes, but you can always go, you can just, you don't have to be real corrective. You just go, yes, and you remind them that that's the conversation they're having.
Yeah. I know we're running out of time, and I'm wondering if you want me to throw up this,
Yeah, the counseling, the next
the
thing.
counseling skills slide.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you think of yes and, there's a couple of ways to do a yes and so and these have to do with the counseling skills. So there's a thing called a soft start yes and, where you yes the person with compassionate curiosity. So compassionate curiosity may be, so how will that look for you? And so it's an empathetic statement and this is what Rogers talks about, unconditional positive regard. You know, and by the way, improv doesn't say this, but this is where I've combined the improv idea with the basic counseling skills. A soft voice of reason, which is the whole idea of, yeah, that seems important, and I get concerned for you. You know, and so if they say, I just want to smoke pot all the time and I'm going to be good, I can yes that. It doesn't mean I'm agreeing with it. I can say, yeah, that's absolutely you can. And I also would be concerned for you. And so that's kind of the voice of reason, instead of, yeah, but then you're never going to get anything done and you're going to waste your life. And that, so I think, again, these are about, how do I open up the conversation? How do I keep the energy in the conversation? And then the basic yes and is really about bringing it into the moment. It's why listening, immediacy, that here and now, you can yes and to clarify. Yes, and would that look like, you know, a plane with, would people have used the diapers with parachutes, or when they're jumping out of the plane, or how would that look? So you can yes and it, and while also getting some clarification around it. And then yes and it can be an intervention. And so, and I was trying to think of an example, but I think reframing is an intervention. So yes, anding, when you and you offer just a different direction for the idea. So when someone said they could have different scents, you know, different smells, you could say, yes, and it could be seasonal, which y'all actually got to.
Yeah, they
which
did a
that's
great
the
job.
power of yes and. So just the next one, and then
Okay.
I can stop. So if you look at these qualities, are these qualities of a good counselor, qualities of a good administrator, qualities of a good improviser, qualities of a good person? What else?
Parent. I mean, I
Parent.
remember when we talked about this the other day,
Yeah.
you know, I finally got to the point. I gave a whole bunch. I was like teacher, parent,
Yeah.
you know, friend, and then I said just human.
This is a list of qualities, and they do research on improvisation, which is weird to me, but this is the research on improv, the qualities of a good improviser. And what I would say is, if you look at the qualities of a good counselor, it's the same thing. If you look at the qualities of a good teacher, it's the same thing. If you look at the qualities of a good administrator, it's a good boss, it's the same thing. And so that's why I think learning some of the basics, and what I like about doing an improv game in these presentations, or doing them during a staff meeting, or doing them during a counseling, is because I'm an experiential learner. And so we can talk about it all day, but improv allows you to practice it. And it allows you to practice it in a fun way. Because, by the way, if the ad agency was on stage in a comedy club, people would have been laughing their butts off. Because y'all were saying things that were ridiculous. And what's funny about it is that when you have a group of people that are all agreeing that what a great idea, instead of what normally may happen. And that's what the beauty of improv. But it really does give you an opportunity to practice something that I think is important as far as the skills of being a good counselor. And I can shut up now.
No, thanks, John. I thought that was great. And I hope, you know, that everybody enjoyed it. I did notice that Joseph put the evaluation in the chat.
Yeah. Any questions, any comments people want to? Yeah, Never mind.
Yeah. And people are saying thank you, and it was good to get everybody involved in this.
If we would have had time, we would have done another one on gibberish where you're just in a group and you do gibberish. And what you're training people, because I would do this with students that are learning counseling. What you're training when you do a gibberish conversation is how to read nonverbals, because it removes your reliance on words and you have to read everything else. And that's another improv game. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate your willingness and to have fun, and hope you have a great rest of the day.
Yeah. And thanks to those volunteers. They were great.
Yes.